Nigeria is hard. It's not easy. It's hard to do business in Nigeria.
What are some of the challenges?
I had a shop knocked down in Lagos here. Very painful experience. For a shop that has been sitting there for the last 5 years as bare land, you're not ready to use it. I knock it down.
Kofi, you've done over a decade of service with McDonald's. What's the difference in culture of training people in the West and here?
What we do is that we give them the same training that somebody gives in the West, and we're telling them perform. No, let's take advantage of our culture.
In other words?
Your customer wants a westernized experience. It doesn't mean your people must be westernized.
I really want us to compare the Ghana market and the Nigerian market.
When you go to Ghana, the tabletop sellers are all registered by Food and Drugs Board. So customers feel safe eating at them.
So they're taking a big chunk of the market.
Thank you.
You think it's easier to do business in Ghana than it is in Nigeria?
There's a little bit more structure in Ghana.
Business owners say that employees have terrible mentality, stealing, no work ethics. But employees are also firing back that owners have slave master mentality. Paying peanuts in this economy. Does paying people enough actually make them work better?
If you're paying me more than what I can get from the competition, then I don't want to lose my job, do I? If they're not delivering, say bye-bye and get the next person in. As a business, I want my business to run.
I have some data here.
Okay.
It says that some studies suggested that over 80% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. In fact, many do not even reach their 5th anniversary. The key factors that influences survival is access to finance, managerial skills, and the ability to adapt to market changes. You, as the CEO of Food Concepts, this business has been around for many years. Over 300 branches. How have you been able to sustain it up until this time?
Good question. Through a lot of hard work. Okay. Like you said, there's a lot of businesses that fail, mainly because you've got managers that treat the business like their own personal bank account.
Okay.
So you've got to understand that when you set up a business, you've got to you've got to put a salary in for yourself. Okay. The business is like a baby, right? You are getting no value apart from the joy of running your business for some years to come. So when I say it's like a baby, let me put it. It needs taking care of.
Okay.
Okay. You've got to feed it. You've got to clean it. You've got to clean it. Sorry, when I say clean it, when you got to clean a baby, you've got to bath him. You've got to play with him, and so on. Right. Until it gets to a point that they can grow and then start providing for themselves, okay, or providing for you, right? Now, what you've got is in stages. You've got to get that business to the point where it's providing for itself, okay? Then you've got to get it to a stage where it's providing for you.
How do you know that this is the stage where it's at?
Well, the point is that there's financial discipline that basically has to be in place, right? You know how much your business makes. You know what all your expenses are. So you're basically running a P&L, okay? If you're running your P&L, you know what your income is. You know what your expenses is. At one point or another, you've got to have profit at the end of it. Now, the question is, what are you going to do with that profit? Are you going to say, I've got this money, let me splash out and buy myself a new car or go shopping or something? Or are you going to invest it in the next stage of the business? Okay? Are you going to invest it in growing your business? Okay? There's a lot of people that don't put systems in place.
Okay, we hear this a lot, but systems. What does it actually mean?
Well, system just basically means is that you're putting set procedures to make sure things run a specific way, right? That things remain consistent throughout your business, that there's a way of how you manage things. So let me take supply chain, for instance, okay? If you want your supply chain to run well, when you're getting quotes, we'll say in our business, for instance, you must bring 3 quotes. Let's find the best quote out of them. Not just price, but let's make sure that quality is there as well. Okay? So you can bring 3 quotes and there could be the lowest one, but you might not go for it because the quality is not as good as the second one. So maybe the middle one is what you take. That is one. The other part is that your guys need a direction, right? And that direction, remember, when you've opened a business, the vision is inside your head. You're the one who knows. You haven't seen the business today. You've seen the business 10 years down the line, okay? But the people that you're carrying along with you, okay, need to be able to see that too. But they're not going to see it exactly how you see it. What they're going to do is that they're going to see it basically today. They're not seeing tomorrow. What you've got to do is make sure that you've got the systems in place that allows them to keep on managing the day-to-day until you can gradually get them to tomorrow, right? So systems, procedures, policies, all those nice words that every company, all the big companies in the world, global companies in the world have put in place to make sure that the business runs smoothly, your operations runs smoothly.
Does it also mean that it should be able to run without me as an entrepreneur?
It 100% needs to run without you. Any business that can't run without you doesn't have any survival. It has to run without you. The first stages, the first couple of years, maybe not, because remember, it's your vision, it's your idea, it's your passion that you're putting out there, right? Once you put the systems in place, then people can run alongside it. So let me give you a prime example. I have to put a system in place to say that at the end of shift, okay, 2 people must count the cash and put it in the safe and sign off for it. Because if I don't, if the excuse comes tomorrow that there's cash missing, who am I going to hold accountable? This person said, I put it in. That person said, me, I didn't see it. And that's what goes back and forth. Something basic like that inside the shop. We've got 200 plus Chicken Republics, 100 plus PieXpresses around the country, okay? I have to put in a system that says that when you're baking the pies, it bakes for this time. And when the pies are cooked, within this certain amount of time, it should go on display. And when it goes on display, by this certain time, if you haven't sold it, you need to waste it.
That's a standard operating procedure.
Thank you. Okay? These are all the systems that you put in. These are little systems. Even government puts in systems. Okay? They've got a system on when you pay your VAT. They've got a system in how you declare your taxes. They've got a system. There's penalties for not following the system.
I'm going to take you away. You know, Auntie Gloria at Calabar Market. How do you explain this to her in a very simple terms?
So that's more of an informal market, right? Okay. Good. So even Auntie Gloria at Calabar Market, okay, has a system. She's got a system in when she goes to the market on how much she sells. She's got a system in how she sets it up. Look at when you go to the market and you see how they pile the tomatoes. They stack it up in like a pyramid form. Yeah. It's her system. Why don't you just leave it flat on the thing? She stacks it up like that. 1, to attract. 2, to portion out. And understand saying, this portion is this much cedis or naira. This portion is that much. She's created a system. Everything that you do, whether informal or formal, there is a system. Now, the question is the system good or is it bad? That's what you've got to deal with. The guy that does the trolley and goes around the rubbish bins and everything and takes out plastic bottles has a system.
Okay.
He takes out the bags, he spreads it out, takes out the bottle, packs it, and puts it in. He's got a system. He's done it for so many years. He's got a routine and he has a system, a systematic way of getting it done. Everything has a system.
But then why do we then struggle so much to pass things down to generations if we have a system?
It depends on how you pass things down. Now, look at everybody that has been a self-made person. The struggles you went through is not what you took your children through.
True.
Okay? Everybody wants the best for their child. I want the best for my children. Okay? I worked in McDonald's for 15 years. I don't want my children working in McDonald's for 15 years. I want them to grow up, be investment bankers and everything else and so on. That's what I want for my children. Right? If that's what you want, they're not going to have that same experience. Okay? There's very few entrepreneurs or families that will say, and I've got a great friend who works in the insurance industry. What he did was that he didn't come in and just take over daddy's business. He came in and worked as an employee and understood the business and grew with the business. He's now the MD of the business. Now he's MD, and that business has sustainability because he knows it from the grassroots. He doesn't just know it from the top, from the comfort, so he doesn't understand what's going on. My staff will always say, Kofi's an operator. Why? Because that's where I grew up from. I grew from working on the ground. I started as a cleaner in the restaurants. I started as a cook in the restaurants. I started as a cashier in the restaurants. I started as a shift manager, restaurant manager, regional manager, area manager, up until the time I've got into it. So I've gone through the phases. So there's no way I can walk into a Chicken Republic shop and anybody can fool me. I know my business, okay? And the same way I know my people. I know what they're going through. So if I see that there's a shop that is struggling or there's a system not working, I immediately pick it up and say, look, it's not just about the system, it's about the individual. Your staff are going to run away if this system doesn't work properly because now they're working far harder than they're supposed to. Okay? And the only reason why that is because you haven't ensured that the system is followed.
Right. That was my next question. How do you ensure that?
That's hard. That's hard. You can do it from so many ways. You can either it's a carrot and stick game, right? You can incentivize and you can discipline. You've got to incentivize when people have done praise and incentivize when people have done good, but you've got to be just as quick to discipline when people have done bad. That showing consequences of doing the wrong thing, we're too slow to do it. We're very quick to say, hey, you've got your incentive and everything because everybody likes making somebody else feel good, right? Nobody really likes somebody else feeling bad. So it's very few managers, and I'm not just saying entrepreneurs because this is a managerial issue, very few managers or leaders that take quick action on staff when they've done something wrong, okay? And we have like a staff handbook. It clearly states this is identified as gross misconduct. Well, if it's identified as gross misconduct, why are you allow the person to do it 2, 3, 4 times before taking action? Because you like to talk? You like to shout? You like to insult? No. Whenever I talk to my team, I tell them that, look, we have the system in place. The first time somebody does it wrong, you retrain them. Just assume, take it for granted that they didn't understand it properly the first time. So retrain them on it. The second time they do it wrong, it's now a behavioral issue. There now has to be disciplinary action. So now you're taking disciplinary action, whether it's a warning letter. A warning letter does 2 things. The person either backs up and starts doing the right thing, or they continue the bad thing and you're able to kick them out. Once you have a system in place for disciplining, you have a system in place for incentivizing, your business will run and keep people in line. Because the ones that are not doing it right, you'll kick them out. The ones that are doing wrong, you'll keep on praising them, promoting them, and they'll keep on growing your business. I'm a fan and an advocate and a passion for developing people. I get so excited when I hear people being promoted. We're running a business where I've got people that used to be an assistant manager in the shop. They're now a head of operations responsible for 100 outlets. You've gone from not being the restaurant manager, you've gone from being the assistant manager, and over the years become the head of operations for 100 outlets. What does that take? That takes you understanding your business, understanding the systems, implementing the systems, training other people on the systems, okay, and ensuring the systems are followed throughout.
Kofi, you've done over a decade of service with McDonald's, and then you are leading a big team in West Africa. Now, you see, this is what I want to ask you, right? What's the difference in culture of training people in the West and here?
I think sometimes we like to kick ourselves too hard in terms of thinking that the West is easier to train than Africa as a general. If you open up a tabletop business, a tabletop food service, okay, and you took a Ghanaian or Nigerian to run it, they run it so easily. Why? Because it's what they're used to. You're telling somebody who's grown up from childhood going to McDonald's and going to Burger King and going to KFC and everything. Then you bring him into the shop. Of course he knows it. He's experienced it. He's grown up with it. He doesn't have to have worked in it to have, and when he walks into that business, he's already got 10, 20% knowledge of what this business is about. The 80% he'll be trained on. What we do is that we take people who have no interaction with these things, okay? We give them the same training that somebody gives in the West, and we're telling them perform. No, let's take advantage of our culture. Our culture is very respectful. We respect our elders. We say yes and please. We always tease Ghanaians. We say, yeah, yes, please. No, please. Please, he's coming. Please, is that. So we've already learned and got a culture of our mannerisms being. You don't have that in the UK. You don't have that in the US. So why don't we take advantage of that respectfulness and hospitality and groom that and get our people to start driving it that way?
In other words,
stop trying to be westernized.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Connected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
Your customer wants a westernized experience. It doesn't mean your people must be westernized. I know, think hard.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think so far? I think that's incredible. You see, so you can put an auntie in charge, and they all have respect for auntie.
Yeah.
Because naturally, that's what our culture expects.
Thank you. Okay, put it this way. You put a 40-year-old somebody in your shop. The way a 16-year-old customer will show respect to that person is completely different to how they'll show respect in the UK. I've been in the UK. I've been born and raised in the UK. I've lived there. Even when I go there every year, I see the way the children behave and everything. I keep on saying to myself, thank God I'm not raising my children here, because I don't know what would have happened. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But the respect and how can I put it? Let's just use the respect. The respect that you give somebody of a mature age, you don't have that there. So you've got a customer that is already showing respect to your staff just because they look more mature. That is one, okay? You've got your staff showing respect to their elders because that's how they've been brought up. Why not take advantage of that? Let me give you a story. Anytime we do an induction, okay, and we've got new staff, I like to go and talk to them. And I said, well, look, let's look at it this way. If you invite me around to your house, remember you're working in my restaurant, right? If you invite me around to your house, you've invited me, you'll open the door, you'll smile at me, greet me, oh, welcome, and everything. You go, oh, would you like a drink? You want to make me feel as comfortable as possible. How much did I pay you? Nothing. So if now I'm paying you to give that same kind of service, what's the problem here?
Why do a lot of entrepreneurs complain about workers then? Because this sounds like this is the hack.
Trust me, I complain about workers. Don't get me wrong. We all complain about workers because it's always hard to find the right people in between. Look, your worker's job at a team member's level is to come in and do as little as possible and go home. All right? I did a study some years back, and I wanted to check the productivity of my staff. I even did this in Ghana. After me and the team did it, out of an 8-hour shift, these guys were only productive 4 hours of it. The other 4 hours was idling around, gossiping, not doing it. Not that they were cleaning or anything, no. When we kept on the time, when they're working, we start the timer. When they stop working, we stop the timer. When they're working, we start the timer. We just intentionally wanted, and realized that 4 hours of it, 4 hours of the day, they were productive. The other 4 hours, not accumulated over a period of time.
Right.
Okay, you ain't getting much out of them. So their job is to come in and do as little as possible, because the work is not easy; it's hard, right? So when it's up to you, the manager, to make use of your staff, let me say, right? It's not up to the staff to you'll get the few people that want to grow, want to learn, and are generally interested in the business, right? And want to climb up the ladder. Yes, those will shine, but they're very few and far in between. They're not that many. Out of every 10, you're lucky you'll get 2. Even if in 10, if not 20, you'll get 2. And I've seen them. I've seen guys that were making burgers in my shop are now running restaurants. They're running restaurants that are doing 100 million naira a month and stuff like that. Okay? This guy was making burgers. He's now grown and trained over 2-3 years and making burgers. I'll tell you another thing that I tell my guys at induction. The QSR business, which is a quick service restaurant business, okay, is most probably got the fastest promotion rate than a lot of industries.
Okay.
Okay? It's one business where you can go from being a cook to a restaurant manager within a year. Because the training is there. You have to want to know. That's it. The other difference between the West and ours is that we need to be more hungry. We have to want more. Not want more in that we want it now.
Right.
We have to plan and say we want more, so we're planning and working towards it. Like in education. You plan and work towards it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay?
Yeah.
And not just sit back and expect it to come. I get so many staff, I'll say, why are you still an assistant? How long have you been here? I've been here a year. Why are you still an assistant manager? Why aren't you a restaurant manager? Is my manager doesn't want to. Guy, no, you don't want it. If you wanted it, you and your manager would have had discussions about it already. You would have gone to your manager and said, sir, I'm ready for the next level. Please, the next shop that is coming up.
Yep.
Because you're working in a company that is growing. The next shop that is coming up, okay, please, I'm next. So what do you think that manager is going to feel? That manager is going to start giving you responsibilities. Okay? And when he starts giving you responsibility, you're top of mind for everything that you want to do next.
I'm about to take you on a journey that most of my audience will enjoy.
Will I enjoy it?
I guess we are doing it for them. You lead a company that has about 300 shops across West Africa?
Yeah, mainly Nigeria and Ghana. Yeah.
And how many have you got in Ghana?
1.
So this is where I really want us to compare the Ghana market and the Nigerian market. What are you seeing? Why do you only have just 1 in Ghana?
Full transparency is the economics. Okay? You can grow faster in Nigeria because you've got the population to grow to, right? You can grow in Ghana. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you've seen brands that have grown quite aggressively in Ghana. But I'm trying to be careful with my words here. Okay. One, the work ethic is slightly different.
How different is it to Nigeria?
Nigeria, for me, there's a mix of assertive and aggressiveness in how we operate. We were discussing before, I said, everybody's an entrepreneur here in Nigeria. Everybody wants to run a business. Everybody wants to get to next. Why? Because there's so many people that you're seeing and you want to be there. Okay? There's people that I want to be like. There's people that want to be like me. Okay? Everybody wants to get to that next level, but they want to get there fast. In Ghana, we have a very relaxed nature, and trust me, I love Ghana the way it is. Don't change it. Okay? It's perfect. It's what makes Ghana, Ghana. Okay? You understand? But you don't have the population. So if I say I want to open 50 outlets, I'd have to plan that over 5 years in Ghana. I can do 50 outlets in 1 year in Nigeria.
Right. Simply because of the numbers?
Simply because of the numbers. Simply because of the population. Simply because of the culture as well. Think about it as well. When you go to Ghana, the tabletop sellers are all registered by Food and Drugs Board. You see them all wearing their aprons and everything. Even the guys, hawkers in the streets, they're all registered. So customers feel safe eating at them because they're registered.
Right, so they're taking a big chunk of the market.
They're taking a big chunk. The informal market in Nigeria, Ghana is always going to be the biggest for the food industry. They're big. I mean, it's gradually getting formalized, but it's huge. It's the biggest chunk. I would say that we're most probably, I think the formal market is, if anything, 15-20%. The informal market is like 80%. You can't be everywhere. So put it this way, we opened up a shop in Tamale. We've got a competitor who's got a shop in Tamale. How well is that shop doing compared to a shop in Accra, compared to a shop in Kumasi, compared to a shop in Lagos, compared to a shop in Abuja, and so on? So I can only put so many shops in Accra. I can only put so many shops in Kumasi. I can only put so many shops in Takoradi. Okay, Takoradi, if I'm thinking about it, I can put about 5 or 6 outlets there. Kumasi, maybe I can put 10. Accra, I can put about 20. You understand? Okay, because the catchment areas are completely different. I can put one here, and 2 miles down the road, I can put another one, because to get from that one to where this one is a whole load of traffic, so I'm not even going to bother. You understand? So I can put them in different catchment areas. Nigeria has that same brand. I've got more shops in Lagos than I do in Abuja, than I do in Port Harcourt. Okay? Because Lagos is multidimensional in some form or manner.
But how about the value of the basket? So the basket value of a customer, right, compared to Nigeria. We look at the currency.
You're talking about living expenses and exchange rate and so on. Yeah, but it's the same. My rent is lower than it is in Ghana. Okay.
Right.
My fuel prices are lower than it is in Ghana.
Right. So wouldn't you say that if I had 10 shops in Accra, that will equate to, let's say, 50 shops in Lagos in terms of the value, the money?
If I was spending my money in Lagos, but remember, all my 10 shops in Accra, all my expenses are in Accra.
Okay.
So don't just, as we say, revenue sales is vanity. Okay, cash is king, right? My sales, I've got that 10 shops in Accra. I've got to deal with 20-something% taxes before I get my net sales. Then I've got my staff cost is higher than Lagos because of the exchange rate wise. Because it's Ghana, minimum wage and all the others that you have to pay, right? My utilities is higher, right? My fuel price, my transportation is higher. Everything's higher.
So naturally, for your business, you, based on your research, Ghana may not see more branches.
Oh no, Ghana will definitely see more branches. 100%. Okay, Ghana will definitely see more branches. So think of it this way. Nigeria has so much white space in terms of for the food business to grow. Okay, we've just talked about the informal business, and a lot of them over the last 2-3 years have been entering the formal sector. Okay, because they want to charge a premium. Okay, Ghana is the same. Okay, we're going to grow Ghana and take advantage of economies of scale. And that's when your business really starts growing. Otherwise, why is the likes of KFC in Ghana? Why is the likes of Pizza? Why don't they just say that, look, I make more money in dollar terms in America. Why am I going to Ghana and charging cedis and have to do an exchange rate of 12, 11 point something Ghana cedis to the dollar? Okay, why not I just open? You've got to open outside your market. Okay, it's almost like you're de-risking your brand. Nigeria is hard. It's not easy. It's hard to do business in Nigeria.
What are some of the challenges?
Everything from the inflation, from the exchange rate, from the regulatory challenges, from inconsistency in what vendors give you, or you understand. It is hard. It's hard to do business here.
You think it's easier to do business in Ghana than it is in Nigeria?
I think it's slightly easier to do business in Ghana. I think there's a little bit more structure in Ghana. The structure is here. We're just not using it enough. It's not that there isn't policies or rules or anything, okay? If I want to get a shop built in Ghana, I know I get all my drawings done, everything, I take it to the town planning office, it's done, okay? If I want to get one down here, I've got to deal with several departments here to get it done. I might have one department that's giving me approval. I've got another department that says, no, that approval is not valid. I said, guy, how can one regulatory body in the country tell me yes and another regulatory body? Why are you not talking to each other? You understand? I'll have environmental. I'll have the environment from the federal. I'll have environment from the local. I'll have environment from this place. And all of them come different rules. Doesn't make sense. Okay, I had a shop knocked down in Lagos here. Very painful experience. But up to now, nothing has been done with that property. So why did you knock my shop down? I've lost revenue, you've lost taxes, okay, and employment. For a shop that has been sitting there for the last 5 years as bare land, you're not ready to use it. Why knock it down?
Your company grows very well in Nigeria, and all of a sudden says that, we want to try a new market.
Yeah.
Let's go to Ghana. What drives decisions to scale? So you're talking about Nigeria to Ghana, because that's what you have most experience in now. Nigeria to Ghana. What drives that decision to scale from Nigeria to Ghana? And then we're going to do the opposite as well.
You've got to keep growing your brand. And I think a lot of people in West Africa try to de-risk their brand from the country that they operate in. You have Ghanaians come to Nigeria because it's a bigger market. Okay, they can get more volumes from Nigeria. You have Nigerians going to Ghana because it's a market and you can earn the currency in which you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Okay, so if I take my Ghana store is in my top 20 outlets purely because of exchange rate.
Right.
Do you understand? Okay, it's not that I'm spending that money here. I'm still spending it in Ghana, but as a business, okay, it is. So that's adding to my revenue, right? Good. So that's one shop. Can you imagine if I open 10, 20 shops? That will now put Ghana alone within. If I look at all my regions, all the states, we operate in about 24, 25, or 25 states now, okay? That will put, if I was to rank the states, I'll put Ghana mostly in my top 5, just with 10 shops. And I could have a state where I've got 15, 20 shops, and Ghana will still rank above it, purely because of exchange rate, nothing else. Now, if that profit is being exported out, I'm giving my shareholders a lot more value for less stress.
Take, for example, this podcast and even my pharmacy business in Ghana. Because I came from the UK, got 2 pharmacies in the UK and then decided to do pharmacy in Ghana. A whole different terrain. Now, if I try to go from Ghana to Nigeria, to see whether Nigerians are really going to like, what we're doing here. As a business person, it sounds exciting. Okay, I want to try. I want to try. But based on your experience, is it really important for businesses to make that move? And at what point should they actually make that move?
Every business has different stages in its life cycle, right? We are looking at Ghana because basically we've already got a pipeline in place to saturate Nigeria, okay? So if I've got a pipeline in place over the next 5 years to open up more shops in Nigeria, okay, where do I go to after that? I can't wait for the 5 years to come before I start looking at Ghana. I've got to start looking at Ghana now. I've got to start operating Ghana now. I've got to start building it now. That's for my industry. You're talking about a pharmacy. How much have you grown in your market to start looking outside your market? Remember, I think we looked at Ghana a bit too early.
Okay.
We opened our first shop in 2008. All right? Ring Road. Okay? Then the whole road structure change and everything. Circle was most of the busiest roundabout in Ghana at the time. And you're thinking, I said, look, your chicken and rice is nice, but it's not that delicious that I want to sit in traffic for 30 minutes just to get to you. Then what time am I going to get to the office? So I remember there was one time I stood in the middle of the street, a circle, that island in between, with my team. I said, look at all the company. You can see SNET, you can see Barclays Bank, you can see all of these. They're not going to come to us. Let's go to them. You understand? For us, I think Ghana, this is the right time.
Okay, this would have been the right time.
This is, I think we were too early, but also about 3-4 years behind.
Right.
You understand, right. Okay? You've seen what other brands are doing. They started growing and everything. The trend has changed. Gen Zs and everybody, their eating habits have changed, okay? QSRs, fast food restaurants, are no longer seen as a treat. They're seen as a convenience. Before, they used to be seen as a treat. It was that place where everybody... That's where you take your girlfriend to. Imagine back in the day, and I say I'm taking my girlfriend my first date to Chicken Republic. Back in the day, that would have been okay. Papaya.
Yeah.
People used to.
Yeah.
Okay, people used to take their girlfriend to Papaya. Now, Papaya is convenience. I'm hungry. I feel something to eat. what should I eat?
Well, it's almost like saying you're taking someone on a date to
Exactly.
Nando's or
Exactly. Now you dare not take her to there. I don't think. I don't think I don't think the date will take place, and I don't think there will be a second date either. But anyway, I think you've. I think you've got to look at the right time for the market, right? And look at one. How big is the market you're operating in? Okay. How far are you? At least 40, 50% saturated the market, not 40, 50% share, but have you at least 40, 50% saturated the market?
I see.
Okay, with what you want to deliver, right? If you've done that, and then what are the controls in place for that market? Is that market being able to run itself? Right now, I can sit here with you and know that everything is running in Chicken Republic. I don't have to call the CFO. I don't have to call the HR director. I don't have to call the supply chain director and everything. They're all far more advanced than I am in the areas that they're managing. So once you've got your systems, your process in place, and you've seen them running, you've implemented them and watched them run for a period, let's say at least 1 year, a full 1 year, then you can say, okay, I'm comfortable. Because remember, you're opening up another market. That is now the new baby that needs attention. It needs your focus. It needs your nurturing to start growing. You can't be nurturing when you've got another toddler somewhere else. That person there needs to be at least 8, 9, 10 years old, being able to bath themselves, dress themselves, and everything else before you now come and start looking at another market, because the other market is a whole different experience.
And when companies are doing this, for example, in your case, is it better to find, leadership within the country?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What's the advantage?
The advantage is market knowledge. It's the understanding the culture, okay? Understanding the people, understanding the systems and how the country works, understanding where everything is. It's much easier to operate than coming in new. I can open Ghana and put one of my team from Nigeria there. He's got a whole lot of learning. There's a whole learning curve for them to do before. The shop, they can run, okay? But as to how to grow the business, they've got a learning curve to go through.
Would you say that is the same thing to do with if you're going from Lagos to, say, Port Harcourt? Would you say it's the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
Right, you will still need to find someone local.
As much as possible, you try and find someone local. But the beauty about it is that the fact that it's in the same country, you've had some experience.
Right.
So it's not that challenging. You understand? Remember, there's a language barrier.
Yep.
Okay? There's a culture in how we go about do things. I can stretch out my left hand here, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure in Nigeria, if you use your left hand, it's found insulting. In Ghana, you can't. You've got to do your right hand.
Be your right. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Little petty things like those things. Understanding that the informal market is very organized. Okay. You can call it as informal as you can see, but they've got a net. They're quite hygienic in terms of how they're selling the food. There's a lady in East Legon area that sells red. I'm surprised at the cars and the queues. Yanebe Estate, Auntie, what's her name? Auntie, I forgot the name. But she used to do Wachi. And the queues and the cars and the people in their shirt and ties and their suits that were there. Meanwhile, I've built a restaurant, AC, nice fancy chairs and everything else, okay? And then I'm looking across the road and the lady with the tabletop seller with the gutter just around the corner from them, and they've got all the, because it's what we want. That's what the market wants.
I want to take you down here, and we talk about dynasties. In Nigeria, we have, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is data that I've got. Dantata organization. We have the Ibru organization. In Ghana, we have Irani brothers. But these people are, not... I don't want to call them... They're not 100% Ghanaian. But, I mean, you may say
they're generational Ghanaians.
Generational Ghanaians. Yeah. And then you also have the Kamoni and the Kamoni family as well. Ghana has fewer dynasties than Nigeria. Nigeria has a lot more. And in fact, in Nigeria's case, it's actually owned by Nigerians. Why?
It's a good question. And I'm not saying what I'm saying is the right answer. I'm thinking the fact that oil was discovered here, that Nigeria got a lot richer quite quicker. That's one. Okay. I think what you find is that Nigeria are more in control in this market than the expatriates. I think Ghana, we've allowed, it's our culture, our nature. As the Ghanaians say, okay, that's everything we give to God. Okay, Nigerians don't give, they'll give it to God, but they'll rush in there and get it themselves as well. You understand? So I think the entrepreneurial nature of look, Nigerians are very entrepreneurial, very resilient individuals, very, very resilient individuals. What we've been through in this country, I'm sure a lot of countries would have buckled, honestly. Okay, and it's about not giving up. It's I have my LinkedIn post sometimes, and I always say there's one post I did that said that we move. Okay, if something's happening, everything, sitting down, talking about it, going on about it, talking, yeah. It's not going to change the result. The result has happened. We move. What's next? Okay, if Nigerians have that mentality, what's next? It's done. It's broken. Let's move. What are you crying about it for? Would it bring it back? No, we move. If you want to be sad about it for a couple of minutes or so, yes, do so. But after that, we move.
Ghanaians stay on it for too long?
I think so. I just think our culture is completely different. Okay, and like I said, I wouldn't change Ghana for anything. I love our culture. I go home all the time and I enjoy the peace, okay, and the serenity and everything that Ghana has to offer. But when it comes to business, and this is what I'm saying, right? If we become more like the Nigerians, then will Ghana still be Ghana?
Right.
Okay, and that's the question that we have to. I've got loads of Nigerian friends that when they go to guys, people, God, I wish they could move faster. They're so slow. In fact, Ghanaians, when you upset them small, that's it. They're walking out. I said, yeah, I know.
I want to read something to you.
Yeah, sure.
Business owners say that employees have terrible mentality, stealing, bad attitude, no work ethics, no be my papa work, laziness. These are some of the complaints of business owners.
Yeah.
But employees are also firing back, and this is what they are saying.
Yeah.
That owners have slave master mentality, treating salaries like favors, being toxic dictators, paying peanuts in this economy, and they act like they are the gods of them. Yeah. What's your view on that?
All true.
The employees are right.
Employees are right.
The business owners
and the
right.
business owners are right as well.
So where do we form a good balance of treating these people well, who are working for us and making our businesses work, and getting the most out of them?
We go back to what we said earlier.
Yeah.
Having a system in place of reward and having a system in place of discipline.
Does paying people enough actually make them work better?
Yeah.
It does.
Paying people enough.
Yeah. Does it make them work better?
If you're paying me enough, if you're paying me more than what I can get from the competition, then I don't want to lose my job, do I?
But based on your experience and the number of staff members you're managing, simply by increasing somebody's pay, does it increase their productivity?
No, it doesn't increase their productivity. So I understand you. It doesn't automatically increase their productivity.
Yeah.
Okay. But paying people more, okay, and remember, what I was talking about was incentivizing.
Right.
Okay, achieving a target and getting an incentive for it. Okay, so you have your salary, right? And we said this is a target for the business, okay? If you achieve this target, I'm going to give you 10% or 20% of this. Done. That's one angle. Now, the other angle is that you're supposed to do this and do this and do this. You did not do it. I've retrained you on it and you're still not doing it. Thank you very much. It's been nice knowing you. Bye-bye. You understand? There is a fine balancing act. And trust me, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. We haven't gotten it right. But it's a fine balancing act that you have to do. Okay? But my belief is that if you reward people, then the onus is on them to deliver.
Okay.
Right? If they're not delivering, say bye-bye and get the next person in.
I've had conversations with people who have
Yeah.
said that it is not true that there is not enough jobs in the country. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. Lots of jobs in the country. It depends on what you want to do. I have shops on the island, okay? And I'm sure there's guys on the island that'll say they don't have work, but they also don't want to work inside the QSR business. Some of them, for whatever reason. Do you understand? Okay? So if you don't want to work in the QSR business, the guy on the mainland wants to work inside the QSR business. But now, the guy on the mainland has got an expensive transportation issue. Okay? Now, as a business, I want my business to run. So what do? I've got to make sure that I can take care of their transportation.
So you pay people and then bring them over?
Of course. Or you give them an extra allowance. So the guy who is working 1 kilometer away from his shop, he's okay, he's cool, he's getting his salary, right? The guy who's having to travel across Third Mainland Bridge to come to Ikoyi or VI, I can't just give him his salary. He has to get something extra. Okay, because his cost of transportation is now far higher than the guy who's just 1 kilometer away. We try to hire within the community that we're operating in. But there are some locations, especially commercial areas, you can't. There's no residential areas. And the residents around those areas don't want to work in your business. So therefore, you've got to bring people across. And when you bring them across, you've got to make sure that if, let's say, you're giving this person 100K, 100,000, a team member, a cook, or a cleaner, 100K, right? Fine. The one that lives a kilometer away is spending 10,000 on transportation.
Yeah.
The one that's working on island is spending 20,000 on transportation. I've got to cover that extra 10,000 to make sure that they're okay. Yeah? And that's how it's got to work.
If you were to give me some tips on how I can build systems in my business, what are essential teams that I should have in my business?
Essential teams.
Yes.
To build the right system?
You know, the teams that I should have put together. And this can make up, you know, a good...
So depending on the business. So let's take our business,
Yes.
okay? I have to have... I'm dealing with food. I have to have a QA person, a quality assurance person.
Okay.
I'm dealing with money. I have to have a finance person.
Finance, okay.
I'm dealing with people. I have to have an HR person. I'm dealing with operations. I need someone to oversee them. I need an operations manager. Okay. I have to buy stock and supply and have the logistics of delivering. I need a supply chain person. Okay. I have to constantly train because whether I like it or not, my business is a high staff turnover business. Okay. If you lived in the UK, people work in the brands like McDonald's and Wendy's and all these other brands as a part-time job. We don't do part-time here. We do salary. There's no hourly pay. Okay? So I've got to get, because of that, I'm going to have more people coming in and out. Staff turnover is high in this industry. It's not as high as the UK or other places, but it is high. So I've got to have a training department. You understand? I've got to put in all the right departmental structure to make sure that my business can run smoothly, right? But remember, that doesn't all come at once. If you're a one-man business, I'm not going to go and get an HR director, a CFO and everything. You become that structure, right? As you get to 2, 3, 4 shops, then you start bringing in assistants to manage that structure. As you get to 10, 20, when we were expanding, we had a 5-year plan. And that 5-year plan came with a 5-year organogram, okay? To say that by the time we get to here and build these shops, this is what our organogram is going to look like. By the time we get to here and build these shops, this is what it's going to look like. By the time we get to here, we're going to need a marketing director. By the time we get to here, we're going to need a CFO now. We can't just have a financial controller. We need a CFO. By the time we get to here, we're going to need an HR director. We don't need just a head of HR. Because there's different levels that you're dealing with, okay? By the time it gets to here, I need an IT department, not an IT manager. So those structures keep changing depending on the size of your business. And that's, business 101.
I'm going to take you on an interview you did, where you said that we are not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
There's a template. Just adapt to the market. But very often people speak about the fact that Africans, if we're trying to build our country, we've got to be unique. We need to come up with our own things and stuff. So this is quite different. Your advice in that interview was quite different from what.
My advice was related to my industry.
Right.
Okay. That we're not reinventing the wheel. What we're trying to do is modify. I did another post on LinkedIn where I talked about people keep on saying Africa is behind. We're not behind. We don't deal with the same challenges that the West deals with. The West doesn't deal with generators. They don't deal with water treatment plants. They don't have to provide their own power, their own security and everything. I don't know how many times you walk into a McDonald's, as an example, and see their security guard there to open your door for you. Or even manage your parking. Okay? I don't know which McDonald's you've been to in the UK and the manager has to go back and put diesel inside the generator. Or needs chlorine and alum to treat the water treatment. He gets all the infrastructures in place. I always tell my team that, hey, the way you guys work here, if I put you in a McDonald's in the UK, you're going to shine. Because you will not have to deal with 50% of the things that you're dealing with here over there. You understand? Where's the consistency? Okay? If I'm a KFC in the UK and I buy chicken and I say my spec is 1.2 kg bird, I guarantee you 100 boxes, 10 birds inside the box, everyone will be 1.2 kg. Here, I've got to work with a range. And since I'm working in a range, my costing has to work with the range. You've got chicken processing plants here, right? Sometimes during the year, they can't keep up with the demand in this market. You understand? So there's a lot of challenges that you face here that you don't face in the West. So for me, we're not behind. We just have a whole different, unique perspective in terms of how we're managing our business. We're managing it according to the challenges of this market. They're managing it according to the challenges of their market.
Because then when we say we are behind, then that means we are comparing ourselves.
Yeah, we're not behind at all. I don't think we're behind. Now, for me to say we're not reinventing the wheel, there's a lot of things that happen in the market. Everybody finds things to modify. Name one thing that is completely new that is African. Completely new. That you haven't seen something like it somewhere else. It's hard to, right? It's hard to think of something like that. I'm sure your audience will most probably, in the comments, will most probably come up with several things. But as I'm sitting here right now...
I can't think of any right now.
Thank you. But what I can do is think of several things that have been modified. Our fashion, our music, our food.
Let me stop you here for a minute. So if it's your first time watching Connected Minds, or you have been here before but still have not subscribed, do us a favor, because majority of the people that watch our videos have not subscribed. This doesn't help us grow beyond what we expect. So help us by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
You can go to a fine dining restaurant and eat Kinky and everything and pay an arm and a leg for it. But the same Kinky that you buy from Auntie Julie around the corner, okay, for maybe 10 cedis, you're now paying 50 cedis because of the environment that you're eating it in. And they've taken it and then they've sliced it and put it on the plate and decorated it for you, okay? We take things and fine-tune it and make sure that it's looking a certain way or we're adapting it for the market that we're in. And that's what we do. Well, we're not behind.
Well, you heard it. Kofi Abunu said that Africa is not behind. If you agree with him, I'd love to know in the comments. If you don't, I want to know your reason why you don't agree. Okay, great. Is there anything you really want to talk about, you want to share, that I haven't asked you from our conversation?
After all the things you've asked me. Look, no, I think, one of the key things is, you're talking to somebody who's had basically the best of both worlds, right? I've worked and lived in the UK, so it's easy for me to talk about the UK, right? And I've chosen to work and live in Nigeria and Ghana as well, okay? My preference is Ghana and Nigeria. Africa, West Africa is my preference, okay? Why? Because I think we get a whole different level of respect. here in our market. I think we get there's so much to do that those of us that have lived in diaspora need to come back and help grow the learnings that we've got there to bring some of it here. Don't get me wrong. I still don't feel Africa is behind, okay? But I still feel that just the same way as there's learnings people are taking from here to go to the UK, all right? You're taking your cocoa and making chocolate over there, okay? They did not have cocoa before, all right? They did not have chocolate. They took it there. The problem is that instead of making our own chocolate and really expanding on it, we keep on importing theirs. So you're eating your Kit Kat and your Snickers and your Mars bars and so on, when you should be taking your own. I would love, or let me put it this way, I think there's been gradually a pride of being African that has been growing throughout the years, and it's exciting to see, okay? With you're seeing what happens in December, the Afro-Americans that are coming back to Ghana, the dirty December that we have here, Nigeria and Ghana as well, is exciting. People excited to come back and enjoy themselves in what we need from our governments is to put in the right infrastructure that will make it life just slightly easier. Life is not meant to be easy. You're meant to struggle and enjoy it. Nothing good comes easy, right? Everything good, if it comes easy, you won't value it. You'll throw it away. You'll treat it anyhow. My personal feeling, life was never meant to just be, it wasn't meant to be extremely hard, but it also wasn't meant to be easy. You're supposed to do something, and at the end of the day, sit back and say, wow, I really enjoyed what I did. I really love this, and I'm really going to enjoy the fruits of my labor from what I did. I'm really going to give myself a treat because I've really worked hard. What you don't want is to sit there and just say that, man, this was almost impossible. And what I could have done in 6 months, I've had to spend 2 years doing it just because the infrastructure, the discipline, and the systems and the process are not in place. So, look, I love West Africa. I can't see myself living anywhere else. Okay, and I think I just love the way our youth, okay, unfortunately I cannot call myself a youth. Okay, I like the way our youth are basically just interacting with Africa and coming home. Yeah. I've got children abroad, and they're so excited to come to Ghana all the time, okay? And remember, these are children, they've got British passports. They can decide to go to Spain. Wherever they can decide to go here. They're going to, but they pay tickets to come to Ghana. That's got to tell you something. You understand?
No, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. And I'm sure my audience have too. You know, anytime I sit down with someone, I have to learn first. And while I'm learning, I'm hoping my audience are also learning. And I've learned a lot. So I really appreciate you and your time. Now, to my audience, the people listening in the busy streets of Lagos, Accra, or Nairobi, if you enjoyed it as well, drop a comment. If you made it to the end, you are one of my champions. And all the details are in the description. For the 9th of September, Connected Minds Live, Kumasi. We're going to Osei Krom, so don't miss out. You have to be there. Every listener of this podcast must be there. And thank you so much. My name is Derek Abaite, and I have been speaking with Kofi Abunu. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.